good evening and welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Wooster City Council. It is April 4, 2022, although with the weather, I'm not sure if we haven't reverted back to February 2022. But anyways, they keep promising spring, but I'll wait until I can put my winter coat away once and for all. It is after 7:30 p.m. Next meeting will be Monday, April 18, 2022. Mr. Paulo, would you please call the roll? And we should note that Ms. Warden gave us advance notice that she would not be here tonight.
Mr. Cavan?
Here.
Ms. Knappich?
Here.
Mr. Myers?
Here.
Mr. Reynolds?
Here.
Mr. Sanders?
Here.
Mr. Silvestri?
Here.
Ms. Warden is absent.
All right, the agenda will remain as presented, and at this time I would ask you to stand and join the City Council in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the March 21st, 2022 meeting. So I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Motion to approve by Mr. Myers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Silvestri. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The March 21st, 2022 minutes are approved. Welcome, Mr. Mayor, and we look forward to your remarks. And I know you will be handing it off because you told me ahead of time to Mr. Montgomery, who has an update for us.
Yes, that is correct, President Biden-Dyke. And welcome, council members. Nice to see everybody this evening. And hopefully we are going to be moving quickly on to basketball games tonight here, if everything goes the way we plan. Just a quick report on my side, and then I will be handing it off, as President Biden-Dyke said. We met with Scott Wiggum, myself and Joel, and Barry Saley, our police chief, or our fire chief. Watch out, chief. Regarding the update of our fire station number 1, which, as you well know, was built in 61 years ago, and we have on the list to remodel here as one of our goals this year. Our city has budgeted $3.25 million for the redo, and we're anticipating up to $1.4 million in ARP, or American Rescue Plan funds, and we're hoping that the state capital dollars grant might be used for about $720,000. So we met with Representative Wiggum today, and I know that the capital grant monies request needed to be in here very shortly. So we're hoping that we might qualify for that this year. A number of us attended the 122nd annual chamber dinner held last Thursday. We had honor bestowed on our community and our whole admin group, and the police chief, Matt Fisher, back here, was nominated and received the Leadership Wooster Distinguished Alumni Award, a really nice tribute to our police chief. So good job, Matt, and congratulations on that nice award. Also, the Commercial and Savings Bank, Eddie Steiner is the president and CEO. They received the Business of the Year award. And Barry Romick, Prenke Romick Company, received the Community Wall of Fame Award for 2022 for his efforts to help those in need, support worthy causes, and contribute to local economic and community development activities. It was really a nice event sponsored by the Worcester Area Chamber of Commerce. And congratulations to all the award winners. I just picked 3 that I knew would resonate with council here. The last info for me, for council tonight, is to get you information about the 46th Airstream Club International Rally 2022 that's happening in our downtown in about a month. You all should find at your places a map on the one side and then the dates of the event on the other side. This is a Region 4 Airstream Club International Annual Rally. It's happening in our downtown between May 19th and May 22nd. There are going to be approximately 125 Airstream trailers on Liberty Street between Grant and Buckeye Streets, and on Market Street between North and South Streets, and on Buckeye Street between Strawberry Alley and Diamond Alley on the south. Come and meet the travelers to learn about their Airstream lifestyle. There's going to be music daily and a free concert on Saturday night. Open house to see the trailers on Saturdays, and some of them will be open where you can actually go inside from what we've been told. This will be a short-term inconvenience in our downtown, but should be a fun way to show off our city and meet new visitors. So I hope the community will buy into this and enjoy having this group in town. We've heard good things from past other cities where they have done this. So with that, I'll turn it over to Joel to talk about redistricting. So Joel, take her away.
I don't know if you remember back in August of last year, 2021, you had a memo from Jonathan Millay where he pointed out some of the census data that had been released for the 2020 census. He pointed out some of the differences in the populations in the various wards and how some of them were getting very significant with this recent census. In that memo, he also mentioned that there was a requirement, for council to do that, and then there was a time frame, which was roughly the end of last year. So I know with COVID and everything going on, I don't know there was a whole lot of follow-up or discussion after that. Our charter says that we shall have 4 wards, and that those will be set by council, or actually it says what they said, it will be set in accordance with the state law, Ohio state law, Ohio Revised Code 731, unless it is contrary to what the charter says. So our charter is very vague on that. It just says there'll be 4 equal wards, and council can update those. But then we have our city ordinance, chapter 10501, and in there it talks about portioning those wards first day of October of the year following the decennial census year. So that's where Jonathan came up with the end of the year date. And in 10501B, what it says, if the legislative authority fails to make such subdivision within the time required, it should be made by the Director of Administration, which I did not know was in our ordinances. So what I just wanted to propose was, I've come up with some draft maps. I'd like to share those with council. I'll email those out to everyone, along with some of the calculations for your comments. And I'd like to get feedback on that, obviously. And if we need to meet and discuss, that's fine. If you don't think it's anything too major, just comment and we can proceed from there. There's not a time limit at this point, other than we're supposed to reapportion them so they're somewhat equal. So we've just got a pretty big discrepancy right now. And then we also have quite a few developments that are mostly in Ward 3 that are going to increase the population well before the next census as well. So I just wanted to throw that out to you, let you know that was coming, and I'll share some more information on that. The only other thing I wanted to briefly bring up was Bob mentioned, the mayor mentioned the fire station, and I know at least 1 or 2 council members have asked, what the status of that was, since you had approved the budget and also overall the city budget and authorized the design. So that's taken a little longer than we thought. We've gone back to the drawing board a couple of times, some of it due to, I'm sure Mr. Sanders is aware, some of the increases in costs since the initial estimates we made back in September and October of last year. So we've been trying to whittle things down, really establish some priorities, And at some point, I've asked Chief Staley to put together a summary of sort of how we got here, where we're at, and then we'll come back to council and give you an update, maybe at a committee meeting, safety committee meeting or something like that. We can share where we're at, and hopefully that'll be either the next council meeting or the following, and we might have some initial ideas on some of the grant money we've also applied for. So I just want to give you an update there.
Joel, if I might, I don't think that Mr. Reynolds and I have the information that was provided to council last year on the
Probably correct.
redistricting. So if we could get that, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I should point out that a few years ago, I know Airstream moved its headquarters to Ohio, down in Jackson Center, so that's be nice to have now a state-grown business showing their wares here in the downtown Wooster. And I think Mr. Silvestri and I are the only two that were on council when the last major redistricting was done, and I just point out that that was the worst acrimony that had occurred on council in all my time, so I'm just as glad to lay the blame at Mr. Montgomery's feet, and I already told him so, and that we'll just provide with our advice and consent, and that way we can't be blamed for how the lines were drawn. And God help us, it's not going to be like what's going on down in Columbus, where they keep going back to the drawing board. So,
No
thanks
appeals
for
to the Supreme
undertaking
Court.
that, Joel.
I'd looking for help on this one, but am I right in thinking that when we first went to wards in the city, that it was all based around the city square? In other words, it was northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest quadrants? I'm pretty sure that's right. That was a while ago.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Montgomery, for undertaking that. I don't think anyone signed up. I don't see anyone. As Mr. Myers pointed out, the bride's side is empty tonight, so we'll move right on to petitions. And there is a petition for a liquor license. If you would, please, Mr. Paulo, read the request.
Sure, this is from the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, request for Wayne Pizza of Ohio LLC, doing business as Pizza Hut, 1831 Bell Avenue, Wooster, Ohio, 44691.
Okay. As you know, our options are varied, as we can request a hearing here since we're the county seat, request a hearing down in Columbus, why anyone would want to unless they were in the Columbus area, or we can waive having a hearing. So what's your pleasure, council?
Motion to waive.
Motion to waive by Ms. Knappich. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Sanders, only because I was looking his way, and you were talking in my bad ear. Sorry, Mr. Silvestri. Would you please call the roll on the motion to waive hearing?
Mr. Cavan,
Yes.
Ms. Knappich.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
And Mr. Silvestri.
Yes.
As you have so ably done so before, would you please notify the Department of Liquor Control that we waive the hearing? Appreciate it, Mr. DiPaolo. We have no unfinished business. We do have 3 items on the agenda under new business. The first one will be presented by Mr. Sanders. It's resolution number 2022-13. I note it is slated for 3 readings. Before we get to Mr. Sanders, Ms. DiPaolo, would you please read the title?
Resolution number 2022-13, a resolution to establish the One Ohio Opioid Settlement Special Revenue Fund and allowing for immediate enactment.
I must admit, that's one of the few phrases I've seen that has so many O's at one time, it's almost unreadable. So, Mr. Sanders, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, as we for those of us that were here last fall or last year, we agreed to take part in the national opioid settlement. And as such, we have to set up a specific fund to receive and disperse those funds. And at this point, the time frame on this could be potentially 18 years. I don't know, it's really still, seems to be about what we're understanding. And so at this point, it's, like I said, we have to set it up if we want to receive the funds. And then I had Mr. Dordia place on your desks here a reminder of the memorandum that we had gotten in terms of the list of what we actually can use these monies for. And as memory serves, potentially, we were looking at maybe $30,000 to $40,000 annually, so it's not like it's gonna be a giant windfall. It's gonna be, while we can use it for some really good programs, it's not gonna be, like I say, it's not gonna be a lot of money.
It looked like a giant windfall until you saw it was going to be broken up over 18 years.
Yeah. So in any event, with that, I motion to suspend the rules of council and place this on third and final reading.
Motion by Mr. Sanders to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Silvestri. Would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and Cavan.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended. Mr. Sanders?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Knappich, seconded. Any discussion? This is merely the formality to set up an account before we even get the money. So I guess once the money comes in, we might have some discussions how it's spent, so.
I do have a couple questions for the administration. Once this, and it does involve what the plans are. I know you don't probably have anything specific yet, but once the fund is set up and once it's funded, what department will it be under, and who will you be working with? How will you be distributing funds?
That's a great question, Ms. Knappich. At this point, we really haven't assigned any type of structure. I am sure that the finance department will have to have input into it. I'm guessing since our police department deals with a lot of the opioid cases, that someone from that group would probably be involved also, as well as our potentially someone from our fire department, because they have to deal with it with the squad. So that would be my guess preliminarily, but I guess we have to set the fund up first, and then we'll try to figure out exactly where and who's going to be involved in it. So I'm sure we'll probably have counsel in some respect, maybe a representative, because we couldn't put everybody on, because you couldn't be on the committee and then come in and pass legislation to adopt things.
Right. Right, well, and I'm assuming that you'll be working with the local community 180, and so we're not doing anything redundant, but maybe we can do things supportive for them over the next 18 years with these funds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good group there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Seeing nothing else, Ms. DiPaolo, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Knappich,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Sanders.
Yes.
Silvestri.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And Cavan.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-13 passes. That brings us to resolution number 2022-14. It'll be presented by Mr. Silvestri. He's lucky it's budgeted, so will not require suspension of the rules, but does require me to turn to Ms. DiPaolo and ask her nicely to read the title of this resolution.
Resolution number 2022-14, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise for bids and enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder for the replacement of the water line on Palmer Street and allowing for immediate enactment.
Mr. Silvestri, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. So there has been a failure in a water line on Palmer Street, and you'll notice it's 240 linear feet of 6-inch ductile iron water line. Because that has failed, we do not have that loop that we like to establish in the lines to keep the water fresh and keep things flowing in the lines the way that the water should. So with this replacement, we'll be able to open up that entire loop that loops around there. And I think I had read it was on, it goes all the way to Nold. And I know, like I said, we're not going to be increasing the diameter of the pipe, but it will go across the bridge, and we'll have new insulation around the pipe, as well as new bridge mounts on the Palmer Street Bridge. And so, obviously, the only other real alternative would be to keep the line the way it is, but we would not have the loop, and the line would continue to be deficient. So the estimation of the funds is listed there, and that is all coming out of the water fund. And Roger's here to answer any questions, but with that, I would motion to adopt this evening.
All right, motion to adopt by Mr. Silvestri. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Myers. Do you have anything else you would like to add, Roger?
No, not tonight.
All right, short and
I
sweet.
have a question.
All right.
Mr. Silvestri had mentioned that there's supports for the water line on the bridge.
Correct, yeah.
I've noticed the top part of it, there's some decay going on. Is that, does the city,
Supports are okay. What happened was some of the old insulation fell off,
okay.
so when it froze, it broke the line.
Mhm.
So
Is the railroad responsible for that bridge, or is that cities?
it's our bridge.
Okay. Yeah, I've just noticed the sidewalks crumbling on it, and I didn't know if it was gonna, if the underneath was as in good shape as well.
Yeah, it probably needs painting in a few years, but it's in decent shape.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kobelarsek. Seeing nothing else, would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Myers,
Yes.
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
and Knappich.
Yes.
Resolution number 2022-14 passes. Our last piece of legislation will be presented by Ms. Knappich. It is slated for 3 readings. Before we get to Ms. Knappich, Ms. DiPaolo, would you please read the title of resolution number 2022-15?
Resolution number 2022-15. A resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to enter into a contract to participate in the ODOT Cooperative Purchasing Program and allowing for immediate enactment.
Ms. Knappich, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Referenced springtime earlier. I'm going to talk about salt and snow, but this is for next year. Thank goodness. I was fortunate to have Kurt Denning explain a lot of this to me and go through this. Apparently, this is a program that the city have been involved in for 5 to 6 years. It entails an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation to go in with them on their winter salt bid. Apparently, they have a lot of the townships and a lot of cities go in. Obviously, the bigger the buy, the better the price. So it's always a good idea to go into things where we can get a better price. Unfortunately, because of inflation and the way things are going right now, we will probably have a higher expenditure than last year. The cost per ton of salt last year was $45.28, and we currently have 3,200 tons of salt in reserves moving into next winter, which is a good thing, and I would be very optimistic that we are not going to use any more of that this year, please. You work your magic on the weather so we don't have to use any more salt this year. In any event, what this will do is it will allow the city to purchase 3,000 tons of salt and minimize the risk of paying the higher prices that might come down the road. We need to have this agreement into ODOT no later than April 29th, 2022, So I am going to move to suspend the rules so that we can get this moving.
Motion to suspend the rules by Ms. Knappich. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Silvestri. Mr. Paula, would you please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules?
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich,
Yes,
and Myers.
Yes.
Rules are suspended. I look to you again, Ms. Knappich.
motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Ms. Knappich. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Silvestri's doing the heavy lifting on the seconds tonight. Thank you, Mr. Silvestri, for seconding the motion to adopt. Any further discussion? This is a housekeeping item we've been doing for a number of years to not get in a position where I know a couple of years ago, some municipalities found themselves where they couldn't get salt. So we've always been proactive.
Okay.
Ready to
Vote. Well, I just wanted to ask Kurt if he had anything else to add to
I
it.
don't.
Okay, thank you.
Well, seeing there's nothing further, then would you please call the roll on the motion to adopt?
Sanders,
Yes.
Silvestri,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
Cavan,
Yes.
Knappich,
Yes,
and Myers.
Yes.
All right, resolution 2022-15 passes, brings us to miscellaneous. No one signed up for the public. In fact, there is no one from the public here that I can tell, other than our intrepid daily record reporter. So welcome and thanks for coming out on a kind of cold, damp April evening. So that brings us to council portion, and we'll start with Mr. Sylvester.
Nothing to add this evening, thank you.
And Mr. Reynolds.
Nothing for me either.
And Mr. Cavan.
Oh, nothing to
Thank
I think I speak.
Ms. Knappich.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Myers.
I just want to say congratulations to Chief Fisher on his Chamber of Commerce award, and thank you for your leadership of your department and your commitment to the city. Thank you.
And finally, Mr. Sanders.
Yes, I would like to announce April 18th, the Finance Committee meeting at 6:30 PM here in the council chambers to review our first quarter city finances.
All right. It'll be noted, and I'm sure Mr. Paula will send us out reminders because most of us will not remember between here and our car, let alone to us. I'm speaking on my behalf, not the rest of yours. And I see Mr. Silvestri has motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by just about everyone. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.